We'd like to apologize first and
Uh,
foremost.
we are back in full effect, in the place to be, like Busy Bee used to say. How y'all doing out there tonight? How's everybody doing?
Good. We're doing good.
Yo,
Yeah,
Mark,
good.
how you feeling up there, man? Y'all getting some good weather in Philly, man. How's it looking up there, man?
Man, shoot, today was lovely. Yeah, I mean, shoot, I seen a couple BBS boys, down in Philly, man. So that type of thing continues all over the country. It's a movement. I was like, hopefully a movement I'm able to join. I gotta find me like a '90s car, man, and then I'm gonna jump in that thing old school.
Are they riding Acuras and Legends? What are they doing? What are they
See,
doing?
it's all the cars you grew up wanting, as a young boy. That's
Okay.
all the cars they ride. You know what I'm saying? So all that stuff is from the '90s, man. And you're gonna see all these cars in Raising Canaan, for about a way, when the show come on. So all them, like all them cool cars from Paid in Full and the old Lexuses and all of that. So, I'm saying? I like, man, I'm gonna jump in there, try to jump in there soon enough.
Indeed. Merv, how you doing out there, homie? Got that 49ers hat on, man. What you doing out there, bro?
trash.
Yo, this dude, man. How you doing, Merv?
Okay, before we was rudely interrupted by this motherfucking, what that fucking name is? Stacks.
These nuts.
Before we got interrupted by fucking Stacks. I'm doing that, man. You know what? I'm a little hot and shit. I had to goddamn go and get this motherfucking fan, man. Shit.
Yeah, all right. What you drinking?
Huh?
Like,
Jesus fucking Christ. This motherfucker's not holding a fan up to his.
and we are live.
I got my drink, my ice and shit.
Yo.
What you got? You got Kettle One tonight? What you got?
Nah. Hey y'all know what the fan is? Y'all remember the group Computer Love? And I Want to Be Your Man? Be like, I want to be your man. Y'all know these
my
fans sound like Zap and
Merv,
Robbie.
it does.
Absolute
It
trash.
does project through the stream, y'all, Merv. What you
Yeah.
trying to do?
Yeah, we ain't hit none of that shit.
What?
Yeah.
I'm drinking Esme Gin tonight.
What is that?
Esme Gin, man.
Oh, okay.
This motherfucker.
That's a nice
It's
bottle.
gin.
They want some damn
Botanical.
gin.
That's a nice $4 bottle.
What?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's a nice bottle.
Yeah.
Hey, but
Is that bottle? Is that plastic?
We here tonight. We gonna talk about
That shit's coming leathers.
persons and shit. So I'm feeling good.
Indeed. Red cup. Yo, Stats, how you doing there, homie?
I'm doing amazing, man. Even though this has like been the Monday, it's Wednesday, but it felt like a damn Monday. So it's been a really long week. Getting a lot of shit done though. I'm fucking with the y'all know I stay on my rye whiskey joint, so I'm fucking with the Knob Creek tonight, man. Just a little something light, I keep a batch of something. Y'all know how I do. Y'all already know I'm coming.
Absolutely. So Becca, how you doing tonight? What you drinking?
I'm doing good. I'm actually sipping on, I don't know if this is cheap, whatever, but it's Bartonura. It's a sparkling Moscato.
Yeah, it's cheap. Mm-hmm.
It's cheap, okay,
Yeah.
but it's good.
Whoa. What's that?
At your local Target.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm sipping
Anytime
on.
you buy alcohol at Target, it's It's
Good
different.
old $13 Moscato right here.
Absolutely. I'm drinking a little bit of Douce tonight, man. So
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like
gotta be
Stacks.
extra.
Hey, do you want to throw up the rock sign or no?
I mean, I'm like Stacks.
I think you should.
It's not finding things in life,
I like, man. I want to know if he wanted to throw up the rock sign. That's all I was asking.
Nah, man.
Hey, yo, Sean. Hey, Sean. When you know, you know.
If you know,
Right.
you know. You know what I'm saying? When you know. I don't go to Target. I don't go to the 7-Eleven to get an alcohol beverage. I go to a real joint. So not saying that's wrong for y'all to do that, but me and Stacks, we kind of like things a little bit finer, So
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
We gonna
Hey,
teach you something, though, Merv. We gonna teach you something, Merv.
Hey, Stacks.
What?
we got you.
Hey,
Hey, Stacks, did he get that from the Rock Nation liquor store? I just wanted to know, like, what happened.
Definitely part of the S. Dot collection
Okay, all
when
right,
it comes to liquor.
I mean,
hey, yo, are we live?
Yeah,
Yes.
Merv laughed like last 5 minutes. Yo, before we go forward,
Hey,
man.
Are we streaming on our page?
Yes.
They
Yes.
can't find us.
They can't find us.
I can't find us.
We're on our page.
Our business page, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't find us.
All right. I got you. I handle it.
We'll get that fixed for you, man.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm being serious right now.
But you want to share it? You want to share it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. We got it. So before we get into it tonight, I want to give a shout out to everybody out there who's watching us tonight. I want to give a shout out to YouTube. Shout out to Blackjack TV, channel 199, Zingo TV. Shout out to Maha Radio. And shout out to everybody out there on our Facebook page, on the Guys Podcast Facebook page. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We have a very delicate and very heavy topic we're going to get into tonight. And it's going to be pretty much led by the cousin duo of Becca and Stacks. They brought this idea to the table a few weeks ago on something that they really wanted to get into. And I want to do it this due diligence. And I want to flip it back over to Stacks while I help Merv out with some of this technical difficulties behind the scenes. So Stacks, it is yours, my man.
Word. All right, y'all. What we're going to discuss is generational curses and lessons passed down from one generation to the next. So we just give you a little bit of context. I'm going to give you some things regarding our generational curse. Generational curse is a specific pattern that is deposited into the family, whereby the family members will be more predisposed to repeat because of heightened exposure to it. So this could be anything, anywhere from alcoholism, I would say poverty, drug use, even unemployment. I guess that falls along the line of poverty. Another way you can look at it is describing the cumulative effect on a person of things that their ancestors did, believed, or practiced in the past, and a consequence of an ancestor's actions, beliefs, and sins that are being passed down. Mm-hmm. So what I would like to do is talk a little bit about how things were when I was growing up, me and my family. And Becca, you can jump in because, you know, we are family.
Yes.
You know, so I was raised by what you would call a village. Where I live, Ave, Georgetown, stand up. You got everybody living on the same street. I got my grandmother and grandfather in one house. My aunt Bernadine is in the next house, and we in the same house. We in the next house over. And I lived in one of those villages in which everybody looked out for everybody. With that, with everybody looking out for everybody, there's certain norms of society back then that you had to abide by, because you subject to pretty much get your ass whooped by anybody in the neighborhood, and you get your ass whooped again when you get home, you know. And it's not like that. To me, it's not like that anymore. Mainly because I think parents of the day more so take the side of their kids more so than, like, if you got an adult to say, hey, your kid been doing this, they gonna tell you to mind your fucking business nowadays compared to compared to when I was growing up. If you like try to debunk what that adult said, that your family member gonna say that grown person ain't got no fucking reason to lie on you. So that's the type of family dynamic I grew up in. Rebecca, if you want to expound on that a little bit, you can go ahead and jump in here.
Well, what I've noticed is that I grew up, you know, in Brooklyn, New York, but my dad is from the South. So my dad growing up on that same street that the rest of my family grew up on, those upbringings that he got from Dorothy Keith, with the way he was with Bernadine, with Uncle Benjamin, Rodney, Charlton, Gwen, Willette, Angela, your mom, your dad, all of them. He raised me that way. So although I was in Brooklyn, New York, I wasn't being raised like a normal Northerner, I should say. My dad raised me like we was still on, you know, the same street. So what happens usually is my dad was always a family man. So my dad having not grown up with his dad, it was basically him and his mom. And with me being his baby girl, he named me after his mother. I happen to be, I guess, I don't know if juniors exist in the female realm, but I am a second. I'm Rebecca Teresa Grant the second, right? And it was basically the same way. It was whoever is in your family you listen to, your neighbors that you grew up with, who you also seen them, you know, their parents went to school together, and then you and the kids went to school together, and then y'all ended up dating a friend of a friend who knew somebody who was a cousin of this person or brother of this person. So pretty much the whole neighborhood was family. So if you got in trouble anywhere or got caught doing something you weren't supposed to do, you was getting a minimum 5 ass whoopings. Minimum.
That's fair.
Then you had to wait till your father get home. Wait till your father get home. You did not want to wait till your father get home. You might not have had any more skin left. So that's the kind of upbringing that we had. It wasn't more so of what happens in a house stays in a house. Your auntie knew, your uncle knew, your cousins knew. Everything that you did at 2 o'clock, at about 2:05, the whole town knew. Everybody knew what you did. And it was this, that's what I was used to. I was used to, you know, your mother told me what you did, or auntie such and such told me what you did, and it was like, oh man, you know too? You couldn't keep a secret. So you got in trouble by almost every adult. Every adult had their time, their 15 minutes of fame with your ass.
Now, along with that, as generations pass and things like that, we either we tend to fall in the trap of, you know, some of the bad stuff out of our former generation because we're just exposed to it. I mean, everybody. I don't think nobody on the panel could say that they don't have the bad side, the bad parts of stuff that they seen growing up with their family, and some of those things are naturally going to have effect on you going forward. But as time evolves and as we learn, you know, new things and, you know, ways of living, we pretty much evolve, and that's how we tend to come to break some of these generational curses. Now, for instance, I don't think we got anybody that don't have a family member that's, you know, been in the streets or, you know, on drugs, alcoholism, and things of that nature. So you have the good, bad, and the ugly in all families. Now, what I think we have to do as people is and this would be leading into the second part when we get there, is we have to, it's a thing called lessons learned. We got to take all the bad and see how we can move forward, pushing that stuff out, you know, and evolving as better people, and just keep passing that shit down to the generations after us. So Mark, how was it for you, you know, growing up in Philly?
I'm like, man, I'm gonna tell you, you know, I'm really one of the only people out of my friends, you know, that had both parents, right? Even if some of my friends did, you know, their dad was around, he wasn't really around often. So it was a little different for me because I had to share my dad, you know. And when I was real young, I didn't really understand that. And you know, it was times where me and my dad shared the same birthday. You know what I mean? We shared the same birthday or whatever. And I remember one time, one of my friends, you know, got to tag along, and I'm like, this me and my dad birthday. This ain't your birthday or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, but I never really understood like why. You know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking, yo, my friend, he took a barge in on this, and that shit ain't cool. Like, you know, as a little kid, that's how I was thinking, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, when you get older, you know what I mean, you understand, like, wow, you know what I'm saying? I ain't even know what my friend was going through at his house, you know? I ain't know everything that was happening, you know, because when you kid, you 6, 7 years old, you don't know nothing about that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But my dad did, you know what I'm saying? and he made sure that he was there for all my friends who he need to be there for. So when kids would be like, yo, my friends would be like, yo, you lucky, man. You know what I'm saying? Your dad, you know what I mean, come around and he there for you and everything like that. And sometimes I get in trouble or whatever, and I just be like, man, I don't know what my parents on or whatever. He like, you lucky, man, that they even around. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't have it like that. And I had to share my dad and I had to share my mom. But now looking back at it, I don't even mind that, man, because I don't know where my friends what would have happened to them if my dad ain't stepped in. You know what I'm saying? And be like, you know what? I'll take it from here. My dad was able to go into any neighborhood in Philly and able to straighten things out. And I just salute him for being that type of man. You know what I'm saying? And I see myself, following in his footsteps in my own way. But I was just like, I appreciate him for being that type of man. That really opened my eyes, you know what I'm saying, to try to be the best person I could be as I got older.
So let me ask you a question. I'm sorry, Stacks. Let me ask you a question, Mark. Mm-hmm. Knowing that you have to share your dad, as an adult now, does it make you, as a kid, you was like, why? It's my dad. Like, it's my dad, not your dad. But as an adult, now thinking about how much impact your dad had on other children, does it make you look at your dad differently?
Yeah, it does, because I'm like, after my dad had passed, it's stories that I never knew about from my own friends, like who I'm tight with, and they never told me these things, and I'm like, well, how come you ain't tell me?
Right.
Like, Mark, that was between me and dad. That, no disrespect, that wasn't between me and you. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I really, like, I knew about him, but I ain't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, the way I look at it now, I'm just like, man, if my dad could be there for people, then I get it. You know what I'm saying? And nothing's wrong with that. Sometimes, like, man, it'd be times where I wanted to maybe hang out with my dad or do things with my dad, but he had to be there with one of my friends, or all my friends had to tag along, with me and him. And I didn't understand it at that time, and I'm sure glad that he did that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, man, I look at how a lot of my friends turned out, and they turned out pretty good, given all the circumstances, especially growing up in Philly. So I'm just like, man, I'm proud of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud to be his son. I'm proud to call my friends brothers, because we call each other brothers. We're not friends, we brothers, man. So it feels good, man. And a lot of guys I go back with, it's a group of guys, I mean, I go back with always since elementary school, and we still real cool today. And I was just like, I think my dad is, the cause of some of that. So I mean, I appreciate him for all of that.
And Mark, and to your point, you just brought up, when you're talking about your dad being with both of your parents, me and Rebecca had that luxury of course, both our fathers are no longer with us, but that brings up another generational curse. And that is the fall of the nuclear family in the Black community, where you don't have both parents in the house. I don't want to deep dive into that right now. I want to wait till the rest of the panel get back on, but we are going to talk about that just a little bit, simply because my father, since we're talking about fathers here, and I know Rebecca gonna have her piece to say about her father. My father was a larger than life figure. I lost my father in 2005. I patterned my life after that man. Whatever decision that I make, everything that I do, I still have that man on my mind, simply because he molded me into the man that I am today. And it's very important. Things like that are very important, because you have a lot of young men out there that do not have their fathers. They don't have a man to really show them. But I think that what's really vital is that village aspect. If you don't have that, both parents in the home, I think that the village aspect, kind of makes up for that. Because I do have cousins that are like brothers and sisters that might have lost a parent early in their lives. But we had, Rebecca would tell you, aunts, cousins, grandfather, we all just dove in. Everybody. There was an adult. If there was an adult, you get your ass beat. I mean, that's just what it was. It wasn't no don't touch my kid or nothing like that. And I
No.
mean, it's just not all about ass whooping. I don't want anybody to think it's just all about ass whooping, but just, talking to somebody and say, yo, that's wrong. You don't do that. You need to do this. I think that's very, very important when you don't have both parents in the home, to have that village. When I was growing up, small town in South Carolina, Georgetown, stand up, but this extends to church people, your father's friends, your mother's friends. It just was no way out. You had to be straight, because somebody gonna see you and they say that dreaded phrase, "Hey, I'm gonna call Ernie," and you literally just gotta wait. That's the worst thing, because you gotta wait on them to get off, because you gotta wait on the ass whooping.
Yeah.
My father was a steel worker. My father, much like your father, my father was a football coach out there. He was our father, but he lent his talents to the community as a football coach. He was my football coach, and he was the type of man, I wasn't good enough to start. He wasn't one of them ones that just putting his kids in the game. My first season with him, I wasn't good enough to play. So I was on the fucking bench, until I was ready to play, even though that was my dad. And that taught me that nothing in life is given. The best things in life are absolutely earned.
Yeah.
What you got, Rebecca?
One
hear about Uncle Harold.
One thing about my dad, Harold Michael Grant, rest his soul. Man, my dad was, I always say this, and people know what I mean with it. My dad was Obama before Obama. How popular Obama was, that was my dad. And I didn't realize that until later in life, or even until his funeral. How many people came up to me and my mom and talked about how my dad helped them with major life decisions. One woman told my mom that my dad helped her through a divorce. Like, one woman said that she was at work at her desk crying. My dad happened to walk past, and my dad had a pretty high position at his job. So when he walked in the building, it was like, Mr. Grant is here, right? They called him Harold, of course. And then I actually also worked there later on. So I was Harold's daughter, and I was like, hi, I'm Rebecca. You're Harold's daughter. I remember seeing you grow up on his desk. Like, he would have pictures of me as I was aging on his desk of me and my sister, and they knew me from the minute I applied. I was like, oh, come on. And for a part of me, I was like, can I just be Rebecca? But then I started to realize, no, I can't just be Rebecca. I'm Harold's daughter. And it made sense later on. And my father was the same way. He made a friend everywhere he went. And learning more about my dad later in life made me realize how important the name is, how important your reputation is, and how important it is that you really do sometimes look at your parents as adults and not just your parents. And I didn't learn that until later in life. I didn't learn that until after his death. And then how my mom had to change her whole life being a widow, and how I started to look at her as a woman and not just my mom. And you start to realize, like, yeah, these people are our parents, but they also are humans, and they were people before we came along. So there would be so many times that I would, my dad was tough. My dad was tough. And my dad was the person I always went to. I was a true daddy's girl, And I didn't realize how much being a daddy's girl affected my mom until later in life, but that's a whole nother subject. Because that is a real thing, what the mothers go through with their daughters that are daddy's girls. But anyway, it's just a matter of how much other people look at your parents. I'm just gonna say my dad, because my mom is respected too. Like, my mom is in these streets. My people know my mother. I love Elizabeth. But my father was the same way. My father was shaking hands and kissing babies all over the place. He was, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Harold, hey, how you doing? He knew everybody's name. He knew their spouse. He knew their kids. He would ask how they were doing. He would help them in their personal situations. And I'm just looking like, he was just my dad. This is the same dad that turned my TV around and told me I couldn't watch TV because I was in trouble. This is the same. My dad helped you through your divorce because he yelled at me just last night. Like, my dad told me to sit my behind all the way down. But he's over here giving you a hug and helping you through a divorce. That's the same man. But then it's like, well, yeah, that's my dad. Yeah, that's my dad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm Harold Grant's daughter. Yeah. Yep.
I remember similar stories. You know what I'm saying? I remember similar stories. You know, I can relate to that. You know what I mean? Definitely.
So do you guys think that when it comes to the general curses, the generational curses, right? Do you think that even though we try to hold on to those good memories and we try to make sure that we reverence our parents, alive or dead, do you think that those generational curses kind of went past us and we didn't realize that we were diving into those as well? Or is it the total opposite where you just like, yeah, I know, but I'm just gonna do what I'm used to seeing, and also what this is what I'm used to doing, so I'm just gonna follow the line.
I think that it applies to some, but not all, because when you see better, you do better. And I say that meaning everybody's different. Everybody's different, and everybody's going to hold on to what they hold on, and you're going to go and do your thing, to the point where, I think I'm one of the only ones, from my age bracket, in my family with my cousins and my siblings, that joined the military. Everybody else literally went to college. Right? I could have gone to college, but I was just intrigued by going in the military. I think that we all escaped, whether we went to college or the military, we escaped from the norm, which was staying at home, finding a job and stuff like that. Not saying that none of that stuff is bad, but I just wanted to go a different route, so to speak. And I don't think no matter which way you go to get to success, as long as it's legal and moral, of course. But I really don't think it really matters if you take something from your past, from past generations, and you can turn it into a success going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all right. I mean, now when you fall into the cycle of all the bad shit from your previous education, of your previous generation, that's when it becomes a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Mark?
Shoot, I'm glad that I didn't fall too far into what I guess for what I wasn't supposed to do, right? And I always said this, my dad would never allow me to fall that far, right? And I always say my dad lived my life before I lived it. Like he was about 3 steps ahead of wherever I was.
Yeah.
Like he knew every. It's like he knew every street guy that I ever came in contact with, and they knew him.
Mm-hmm.
Now so anytime something going on, it's just like, yo, you gotta stay back here, man. You know what I'm saying? I already got the call from your dad. Like, I'm like, you know him? Yeah, Mr. Johnson? Hell yeah, that's my, that's my old head. Like,
you're looking out when you ain't even know it.
You never know. And I'm gonna say like this, right? Like, I got a lot of good things from it. I think when it was a time where I wasn't sure, then my dad was just like, try this, right? Because like with college, I didn't even want to go. Like, I'm just like, I'm done with school. I didn't really like high school. I like the social part of it, but I was like, I ain't like the work of it, right? But I just see like all the stuff that I kind of put my mom through, just getting in a little trouble here and there and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I just was doing too much. And my mom, it was just important to her for me to go to school and maybe graduate or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad talked to me. He was just like, well, son, what else you going to do? Right? He like, just give it a try, right? For a year or whatever. And then, if you don't want to do it no more, you don't do it. But then I went and I'm like, oh, this college thing ain't that bad. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't too far from home because I didn't really want to go away. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? I was just like, all right, I can get to my friends, I can get to the block and all of that. And I was only like 45 minutes away from Philly. But it was like a whole nother world. I'm like, man, this is crazy. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I'm glad that they sent me there, to figure it out. And, to kind of give that gift to my mom.
Yeah.
I can't never repay my mom for everything she did for me. It's no way possible. Even if I was rich, I couldn't do it. But
That's real.
I mean, giving her, being able to walk across the stage and giving her that moment, you know what I'm saying? That was just, it was big.
Mhm.
I think it meant more to her than it did to me. Even though my brother and my sister graduated college too, right? I think, I'm saying that, the fact that I didn't really want to do it and I did it, I
Right.
think, it was like, it was, I know they were happy for my brother and my sister, but I think, she was a lot more happy for me because I think for them it was kind of expected. And with me, it was just like, I don't know what way this is going to go, so
Right.
I kind of appreciate that, being passed down. My family's an educated family. Everybody seemed like they went to school or whatever. And it was just me where I just really wasn't sure, what I wanted to do because it was just like, yo, you getting pulled by two worlds. It's this world over here, and this might not lead to anything good. And then, all right, son, maybe you might want to try this. And then I went ahead and tried it, and I was just like, man, I ain't really looked back after that. You know what I'm saying? That was,
Yeah.
I appreciate my parents for that, man, because I'm just like, if they were just like, yo, do what you want, I was like, man, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to y'all. You know what I'm saying? I
So
know that.
do you go ahead,
I
Stats?
got I got a comment as far as being slaves to the past of our generations before us. I think it depends on how your past generation is built. Fortunately, my aunt Bernadine, she was like the educator in our family. She made sure that she was like the first one that literally came up with the idea that, hey, y'all going to college, y'all are going to college, and unfortunately, it really depends on how your family members are because you do have family members out there in some families that don't want to see they don't want to see their kids or the other generation do better than them. So they'll be like, you ain't
Yeah.
going to be shit.
Yeah.
You just need to stay here and do this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
Why you got them dreams of going to college? Ain't nobody in our family ever went to college and no shit like that. I am very fortunate to whereas my aunt, my mother, my pops, like I literally was going to back out of going into the military at the last minute. My pops served like 4 years in the military, and my pops would tell me, he was like, I know you can go to college, but you are going to really succeed going in the military. And he said, I'm not going to let you back out. He like, if you don't go, you got to get the fuck up out of here. You got to go somewhere when you graduate. You got to go somewhere. Because my dad, he just stayed in for 4 years, but my dad saw that I could, go on and do great things. And this dude was, when I was in Iraq, this dude was going around town. Yeah, my son, he in Iraq, man, he over there on the front lines, he doing this thing. Like, you couldn't tell him nothing. Like, I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't have that push from the generation before them because unfortunately, they really want to just see their seeds and the generation after them stuck in a rut. That's crazy, but that's how some families are, and that's very unfortunate.
Because a part of them believe that if they couldn't do it, you can't do it. You mean to tell me my father ain't go, my great grandfather ain't go to college, my father ain't go to college, I didn't go to college. What makes you think you are? It's crazy. It's really crazy how that mentality can travel through 3, 4, 5, 6 generations, and nobody that you can think of has ever done anything, not maybe successful, but has what you're trying to do, no one in your family has done. And people will really tell you, family included, that you just can't do it. I remember,
right.
I have a degree in theater and television, and I've been singing and dancing and acting and writing and all of that since I was 5. And I have a VHS tape of me at 5 years old.
Facts, Tina B.
in front of parents are now just happy that their kids made it past high school. Very true. I have a video of me at 5 singing in front of hundreds of people. I was singing Anita Baker, Sweet Love at 5. I sang it a cappella because I was just too fly and I was ready to be a star that I cannot wait for the music to start. So I was just singing. And you hear my dad in the audience, yeah, that's my baby girl. And my mother was the one who introduced me on stage. So you just think about things like that. And when I hear stories about how people had to really fight through opposition from their family to make it, and then when they make it, here come that same family member. I'm so proud of you.
Let me hold something. Let me hold something. Let me get $5. Let me borrow some money.
And that makes sense to older generation, because my dad didn't graduate from college as a young lad, right? He ended up getting his college degree as an old man, graduating summa cum laude, and that was such a experience for him. He never finished college, and as an adult, he decided to go to college and got his college degree. And you see me, my mom, and my sister next to him, this grown adult man with a college degree, so happy that he was able to do something that he could not finish as a young man. And it was a goal that he had all his life, and he finally finished it. Meanwhile, when I went to school, I went to Morgan State. It was my junior year. It was my junior year, and I remember not wanting to finish college because I had gotten sexually assaulted at Morgan State. And I had not told my dad. And I could tell my dad anything. I did not tell my dad that. And I wanted to leave college, and I didn't tell them exactly why. I just told my dad that I just didn't want to go there anymore. I wanted to leave. I only had 1 year left. And I remember him saying to me, Becky, what do you plan to do? And I was like, well, I'm going to go to school in New York. He was like, because you can't come back here and just sit. You can't just come back here and do nothing. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to finish school in New York. And I remember him being disappointed that I just decided up to just not register for no classes. I was serious. I was not going back to Morgan. And I remember going back to New York and getting into Brooklyn College and graduating. And my dad, you would have thought I won the lottery. Like, my dad was so happy. My mother was so happy because they both thought that I was just going to leave and not finish a goal of mine. Because my dad was like, no, you're going to college. Like, after you graduate high school, the next step is college. Like, I don't even know what you think you're doing, but you're going to college. And me telling him I didn't want to go to Morgan anymore, it was like, but you got to go to college. And I remember him feeling so happy that it was finally done. And him having not even at that age have done it himself, but pushing me like, you got to finish college. And then me as an adult watching my dad finish college, it was a full circle moment. Like, I watched my dad for all these years want something. And because he was being a family man, he was being my dad, he was being a husband, he was being, a family man, the school and the education kind of took a back seat. And then one day he was like, nope, I'm going to do it. I'm going to finish it. And my dad was so happy. I have his degree hanging on my wall to this day, because that's a reminder of me that it doesn't really matter what generational curse you may think is upon your family. All you have to do is say, not me. And the curse stops right there. And you don't have to worry about nobody else in your family being educated. You can have a wall full of degrees. You don't have to worry about nobody in your family ever being able to do something that you want to do. You could do it and look them right in their face and say, I did it. And now the people under you, your cousins, your nieces, your children, can now say, my mom, my dad did it. I can do it. And that curse stops right there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Man, that's
Mhm.
you said a mouthful, Cuzzo.
Yeah, no doubt.
One of the biggest things is accountability, and I'm talking about accountability on the side of the current generation and the past generation. The accountability piece from the past generation is obviously to not to hold the younger generation accountable and to not let them quit. Now, here's a thing that I have a real problem with, and I think it's more so with our generation as far as parents. I see a lot of parents that allow their kids to quit things uh, like easily. I'm going to give you an example. When I was growing up, I think it was football. Everybody played football, this, that, and the third. Um, I remember there was a time that I was thinking about quitting football. You know, I wasn't super duper good at it, but that was our thing to do. And my pops was like, "What do you mean quitting?
Right.
We don't quit. That's
Right.
that's not what we do. I don't care if you're not great at it, but we don't do quitting over here." And that has always stuck with me because you do have parents nowadays that when stuff gets tough or the kid is not really good at something, they be like, you know what, baby, you can go ahead and quit. You find something else that you're good at.
Right.
If you quit, if you let a child quit now, this is to me, this is part of a generational curse. If you let a child quit now, this is gonna be the same child when they become an adult that's gonna have 10 fucking jobs in a year's time. You know, you have to let your kids weather a storm. You have to let them have these experiences because life is simply going to knock you down. That's just how life works.
That's so hard.
I would tell my son, I would tell my sons, I would tell my sons, and this is probably very fucked up. I was like, outside of your family, nobody really gives a fuck about you. Everybody's taking an angle on you. Like you're gonna see all these smiles. You're gonna hear yes a whole lot. Of course, I'm gonna tell you hell no a whole lot because that's who I am. But when you get out there in the world, there's gonna be jobs to tell you no, we selected somebody else. There's gonna be times where you don't get accepted to shit, and you just gotta deal with that and keep pushing, get better, so you can go back and blow that shit out the water. But no, we are so quick these days to just let our kids quit. You got kids that are going to college, and it's very tough. When I went to basic training, I went from Georgetown to Columbia 2 hours. I felt like I was like a world away, and I wanted to quit. Like I wanted to tap on and say, "Look, this shit ain't for me." I was in reception. I wanted to quit. Sean, if you can believe that shit.
Yeah, I can't.
So my pops was like, "Fuck you." My pops was like, "Well, what the fuck you gonna do if you quit? Because you can't come back here."
Yes.
So, what I decided was, you know what? I'm gonna push through this shit and roll with it till the wheels fall off because I can't go back home and tell my dad and face my family and let them know that I quit because I ain't been raised to be no quitter.
Because you wasn't just gonna get it from your dad or from your mom. You was gonna get it from Willette. You was gonna get it from Gwen. You was gonna get it from Bernadine.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure at some point Charlton, Rodney would have said something. If Uncle Benjamin was still alive, Uncle Benjamin would have said something to you.
Yo.
So it would have been a minimum 10 people that would have been in your ear. You're like, you know what? Let me just do it because.
Hey, yo, Sean and Mark, and our family out of pocket, like most families. They'd be like, "Hey, I heard you quit the army, man. You ain't shit, man. What you gonna do now? Guess you gonna hit the block now, but you can't sell drugs because you obviously weak. You can't be." They literally talk to you like that, and all of these things was in my head. Like I can't go back home, no fucking quitter. These motherfuckers ain't gonna let me live. Right. So with that, but let's not normalize quitting because that's what a lot of parents from our generation do. I will give the past generation, I don't know about y'all family, but my family, they ain't letting you quit shit. If you go out there and you get in a fight, you ain't coming home crying. You going back out there and you going back out. You take that L. You about to go back out there and get them.
Yeah.
You ain't no quitting. Ain't no quitting. So the accountability piece, it's especially needs to go on our generation of parents, because I mean, that whole, hey, I'm gonna just allow you to quit shit. That shit's foul.
But you know what? Also, I think that sometimes it depends on the situation, because if you know, life is very unpredictable. Sometimes you got to pivot. Sometimes you might have thought this is what I want to do, and then once you've gotten into it, you're like, you know what? I may not want to do this. I may want to do something else. Maybe in the same field, just not the same thing. And sometimes that can happen. But you have to know your child. You have to know the difference of them quitting or them just saying, you know what, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do this instead. I'm a change directions. I'm still heading forward, but I'm not going to go straight. I'm just going to make a couple turns and I'll end up back here, eventually over there somewhere. But, you know, because that is also a big difference, because I don't feel that we should just keep pushing them to do something that they really don't want to do, because they'll fail. They'll fail. If they don't really want to do it and they're only doing it for us parents and they don't really want to do it for themselves, they'll put no love into it. So we still got to be somewhat supportive if they change their mind, because we have to also allow people to change their mind when it comes to our children wanting to do something with their future. Because we can always tell. My daughter is a splitting image of me. It is so crazy how I birthed myself. The way she runs around singing and dancing all day. I'm like, sit down. But in the back of my mind, that was me. That was me. That was my mother telling me, sit down, Becky. I sang everything on the TV. I sang every song I could hear. My daughter sings the car commercials. She knows the commercials on the radio and the commercial on TV. She sings it, and I'm like, oh my God, please be quiet. Yeah. But my mother's like, that was you. So we are really actually just raising ourselves in a sense. So we have to also know sometimes when it's okay for them to change their mind and not be so hard on them and making them feel like they have to do what we want them to do. Because that's a lot. That's a lot for a child.
And I feel you. I'm talking more towards the repetitive shit. And I know sometimes it takes kids a while to find themselves.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the whole that's okay, baby. You know, I'd rather, okay, that ain't work out for you. What you gonna do now? Because you gotta have some type of plan or something like that. But you got some parents from our generation that'll let their kids quit, come home and sleep on their couch. Hey, you good to go. I mean, and that to me that's enabling, you know, more curses in the future. You know, in my opinion, that's just how I feel about it. Go ahead, Mark.
I say like this, you know, my pop, he just put things in front of me. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, I don't know, like, Dad, this ain't really going, you know, the way it need to go. You know what I'm saying? And he's just like, well, did you ever think about this, right? You know, and things like that. And I was like, I don't know nothing about that. You know, He's just like, well, you know, you try it. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. And then, you know, those lessons from him, you know, after he passed, it's like those lessons still carried on, you know, where it's just like, man, like I was at a crossroads, you know, because I was working in professional basketball. And it was just like, that didn't seem like it was like the right thing. Like it ain't feel right. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, what am I doing here? You know? And, you know, I just heard him in the back of my mind, just like, you know what? You know what I'm saying? They're not using you right, son. You know, you a leader. I raised you to be a leader. They're not using you, you know, in that manner. You got to go. And I just heard him. You know what I'm saying? So I left. And people couldn't believe it. Like, you know, when I left Nike, it was just, left Nike? Like, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Yo, you making money. Like, it wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when I started working with the kids. And then I was just like, I like this right here. This works. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I already, you know, had my youngins, you know, who were trying to get out the street and all of that. That was something different. But now I'm actually in the setting, but working with the same kind of kids. So I'm just like, and that's when I seen it right there. And it's kind of, I kind of been at that ever since.
Yeah.
My pop, always called my pop the people's champ. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, man, and the same thing came to me as a kid is like, this man can walk into any hood in the whole city, you know what I mean, and turn things around,
People know him.
and I'm just like, I didn't know anything was being planted at that time. I just thought it was some cool shit. You know what I'm saying? That one minute we in North Philly, the next minute we in South Philly, and I'm like, Dad, is this cool? Like, cause you be on a block and some of them blocks toe up, like, it's all right. You know what I'm saying? Everything's good. And we was always good out there. So now it's like I find myself doing kind of the same things. I'm just like, everything's okay. You know, because I'm just like, man, when you give and you trying to make sure everybody good, you know what I'm saying, and you giving them lessons, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, nah, you know what I mean? Like, I come through, it's just like, nah, it's OG Mark, man, what I mean? He got something for us, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm just spreading love. So me and my dad's way is different, you know what I'm saying? Because I think, when you start off, right, even when trying to squash a beef or whatever, I'm like, when do they feel, their best, right? When they eating, when they drinking, and some of them when they smoke, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo, I'm coming on the block. I got the grill in the car. Like, yeah, I mean them little fold out joints, right? Yo, we gonna cook right on the block. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? We eating, you know what I mean? We drinking some things or whatever. And then all of a sudden you get into the problem, and what can you do to solve it? You know what I'm saying? Because I want to see all those youngins, like, look, we can't continue the cycle of getting in trouble. It don't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Getting locked up don't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, I'm like, you can go around ask them, what do you want to be? Right. And when you start getting into what they actually thinking about, like, yeah, I want to be a veterinarian. After you get past the I want to play ball and rap thing, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? After you get past that, you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
you know who faking and who real. Like, you know what I'm saying? All right, you want to rap? Yo, rap right now. Oh, well, I really don't want to do that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? But when you get to what they like, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, I like animals. I'm like, oh, well, you could be a vet. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
You direct them a little bit. You direct them
I was
so
like,
that way, you can guide them.
so it's little things like that that I try to do and just give to the community because the community gave to me. You know what I'm saying? When
Right.
my dad wasn't around, it was always somebody, from the neighborhood or other neighborhoods to make sure, that I was cool. So it's like he always was around in some way, and that's why I always say I never fell too far where it's like I couldn't come back from it, and that was
Oh,
my dad being my dad. So
Right.
I was like, I try to give back that same thing, but this
So
cycle of,
so so Sean, you've been listening and you've just been like listening and watching. How do you feel about this?
yeah. What the hell is Merv?
Merv is Merv, man. Don't tell him where that guy is at, man. Don't tell him. No, I think this is really good conversation. I was sitting back listening, just absorbing what you guys were sharing. I appreciate the vulnerability and just being able to share your story. I think for me, the accountability piece was a little bit different in my household. I was born out of wedlock. My mother and my grandmother, for the most part, raised me. My father was always around, but I didn't grow up in a household with my mother and my father. My father was like a basketball legend, hood legend. If he had not hurt his knee, there's no telling where he could have gone. And I remember just being with him on the weekends, and people were like, "Yo, you're going to be like your dad." So me and this guy look just alike. You know what I mean? He's just a little bit bigger. My dad like 6'3", 6'4", was a monster on the court. And I remember thinking, man, you're going to be like your dad. When you get older, you're going to be that turnaround jumper. You can jump out the gym, long arms. You're going to be like your dad. And I used to always tell my mother, I said, yo, basketball is my future. I'm going to the NBA. And my mom, hard worker. She's like, yeah, that's good, baby.
Yeah.
But your dad telling you play basketball on the weekends. That's not putting food on the table. You know what I mean? Like she's like, he's not paying child support. He's thinking you to play basketball. That's not a substitute. You know what I'm saying? So my father, always been like the one that like, yo, you're gonna play basketball. I'm behind you 100%. Don't worry about nothing else. That was the mantra because our family all basketball players. My uncle, first African American male to go and play for the Soviet Union. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame a couple of years
Okay.
ago. Was a beast. Played at VCU. Was a beast. My other uncle, my dad's younger brother, played for the Hornets. He also until he got hurt. Then he was a coach for Crestwood and coach John Morant. So we come from a legacy of basketball players, right? And I share that because if, again, my dad was like, do what makes you happy. That was his thing. Do what makes you happy. The only reason I feel like I had to make a pivot, like Becca mentioned earlier, was because of life circumstances. My mother was going through a situation with my stepfather at the time. I woke up in the middle of the night. She got our stuff packed. She's like, we out of here. And we were gone. And this is like my last year in high school. I was already, getting letters from colleges. I had just played AAU, was getting ranked and everything as a shooting guard and small forward and power forward at 3 different positions. So I was like, I'm feeling good about everything. I had to quit all of that and get a job. So I started working at McDonald's. Then I had to end up, I say I would have to, but it was a decision I made personally to go into the military so I can make sure my mother and my little brother at the time was taken care of, that they were going to be good. And it was a decision I had to make at the age of 17. So I was like, do I continue to try to pursue something that I really love? Or do I go in another situation, put myself and my family and break that generational curse that we already had? Because before me and my mother's side, no one went to college. No one had wealth. We were, humble background, right? Yeah. And not saying the military, and Stacks know this, military, you're not going to be wealthy in the military. No matter how you come back home, everybody like, give me some money. You got all that money. Like, no, man, I'm making less than you probably. But at the time, I had to stabilize myself so my mother didn't have a burden where even if I were to go to college, because I did have scholarships to go to college, how would I still be able to support myself on that? You know what I mean? Right. It was I remember crying the night when I told my mom on my 18th birthday, I got hired at McDonald's that same night. I went and put an application in. They were packed. And the lady was like, you want to work right now? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it right now. I had just turned 18 that day. And I started working at McDonald's at the age of, I was 17 because I was legal then. 17 and started working. And ever since I was working. And the reason why I say that is because that was a very tough decision to make, where I put my dreams to be a basketball star. I probably wasn't going to make it as a basketball star. I mean, I stopped growing at 6 feet and that was it, right? And that was even after I got in the military. So I say that because I wanted to break a cycle that was going in my family for a long, long, long time. And I'm glad I don't regret that decision because it positioned me to be able to set a tone for another generation, my daughter, be able to show her that mom and dad both have degrees. Mom and dad are doing very well. Now we're going to show you the blueprint that we learned together, that we wasn't really passed down to us. We had to learn and we had to go back and relearn our parents, some of that. So it's like you almost become a parent to your parent because of things that you picked up, if that makes sense. And that happens so much in the Black community. It happens a lot in the Black communities where we're born. A lot of us are born out of wedlock. I always wanted to have a mother and father where I can come home, hey, mom, dad, this is what I did in school today or whatever. I didn't have that. I had a working mother that worked in retail every single day, had 1 day off a week. And that 1 day off a week was on a Sunday. When she would come home, I would massage her feet. It was just something I would do. Massage my mom's feet, giving you little fat feet, mom, just massage your feet and just make her feel, like, I appreciate what you're doing for me, and I feel like it was an obligation to that, And,
I kind of feel like that when being a single mom for so long, because I grew up with my mom and my dad in the house, right? My daughter can't say that.
Right.
And being a daddy's girl and just looking at the relationship that my daughter has with her dad, it's heartbreaking. Because I know when I as far as my memory can go, I remember my dad always being there. Always being there. I don't know anything about raising a kid by myself. I
Mhm.
have nobody in my family to look at. Even my alcoholic crackhead aunts and uncles are still together.
Right, right.
Mhm.
I have no single parent in my family to look to say, how do you do this?
Right. You the blueprint.
The I don't know who to ask. So I asked my mom a lot just about, mothering advice, friends. I know a lot of friends who were single moms, but all of their situation was like, F the dad and that's it. I'm just gonna raise my kid by myself and forget it. But I kind of wanted different from my daughter. Even though me and her dad were not together, I still wanted there to be some type of relationship. And I tried for so long and it just wasn't reciprocated. So I had to make the decision to raise my daughter on my own. And
Right.
then now with my fiance, it's very, very different for me to see her because she's never had a male in her life at all.
Right.
I never brought guys that I dated around her. I really honestly didn't date a lot because I was so busy being a single mom and working. There was really no time
Right.
to do that. So just now where there's actually a man in my daughter's life is very different from me, which is it's ridiculous because a child should have their mom and dad there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But for my daughter, the norm for 10 years of her life is just me and her.
Yeah.
So she doesn't know anything about daddy always being there. She doesn't know about waking up to mom and dad in the house. She doesn't know about, her and her dad having their own little thing like me and my dad had, our own little thing that don't tell your mother, right? Our own little special connection.
Right.
She doesn't know that until now. My fiance has stepped in and he has another daughter as well. So he understands that kind of presence that little girl needs, right? Little girls need their mom also, but little girls need their dads. I don't think men really understand. I know men, they're on their sons and they just love their sons and they do that. And maybe because I'm a woman, I feel this way, but
Yeah.
men who have daughters, that's a special connection.
Absolutely.
And excuse my language, if you fuck that up, it's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
it trickles down to so many other aspects of her life. I know having my dad in my life saved me from making a lot of decisions just based on attention, just based on need, just based on want or anything, because my dad already did it. So you can't impress me. My father already did it. Versus some women who may not have had a father in their life, they don't even know what that looks like. So when a man comes along to give it to them, it's like, yes, give me.
Right.
And that can unfortunately sometimes lead them to make the wrong decisions.
Right.
But that accountability that we have to take, and it's like, okay, I've seen this happen so many generations, my grandparents, my parents, my aunts and uncles, I see my cousins, and I know that this is not the right kind of life I want for me.
Right.
So I have to have accountability and say, I'm gonna stop it right here.
Right.
Mhm.
Becca, you mentioned something, and this is something my Wiz said to me a couple of weeks ago. She said, our daughter, whenever she get older and I'll allow her to date, it's going to be hard for a man to impress her because of what she saw in me. And when she said that, I didn't know, I didn't tell her that she might be hearing it now, but I felt so good inside when she said that, because I'm like, I wanted to model myself of what a man should be. Like, I got this shirt said dope black dad. I shared that because, again, I go back to, if you're a man, you're gonna have to show that you are a man if you're dating someone from my cloth, right? Because I'm setting a certain bar that you're not going to be able to supersede. You're going to have to do a lot. You got to walk on water to supersede that. And my wife, my wife told me that. I'm saying to myself, I did that for you. I did that for you when I was 17, when I told you, give me some time and we're going to be right in a car. I was in my Mercury Mountaineer and I told her, I'm going to do all this for you one day. And now our daughter is here. It's going to be hard for someone to supersede that. So that was a great point that you made.
Right quick. It's funny you say that, Sean, because that's why I cannot wait to meet Rob. Simply because I knew if Rebecca was getting married, knowing her, how much of a larger than life figure her father was, I'm like, I gotta meet this dude because it's funny you say that, Sean, because that's really it. That's really it because her father, was a larger than life figure. That's why I was like, damn, Rebecca getting married? What the fuck? I gotta meet this dude, right? This dude must be fucking T'Challa mixed with damn Malcolm X and shit like that, because this motherfucker must be the real, you know what I'm saying? Right. That's what I was thinking.
That's a real thing because when my sister got married, right? I was just like, you know what I mean? They send me, me and my brother first, just test him, right? Yeah, I'm like, all right, that's easy work. You know what I'm saying? For my brother-in-law is now my brother, right? But I like, with Pop though. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, man, but I'm like, it's crazy because I'm like, when I look at my brother Mike, and I'm like, he has a lot of characteristics that my dad had. I could understand how that worked. You know what I'm saying? I can understand why she chose him. You know what I'm saying? To be the love of her life, because I'm just like, I could see it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, man, and my dad approved. I'm like, man, the fact that he got the stamp from my dad, I like, man, this guy, he's more than official. If my dad gave him the stamp, so I'm proud to call him brother. Proud. I like, man, that's my bro, man. You can't tell me nothing about my brother.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
And they say that women usually marry men that are like their fathers, good or bad. Sometimes even if their father wasn't in their life like that, they may end up marrying a man sometimes just like their father, and they don't even realize that.
Right. And
Rebecca.
Oh, go ahead, Stacks. I'm sorry.
Rebecca, to your point, you seen my sister's husband. And that dude is like he been in our family for years. He kind of reminds me a little bit of my dad. And that the dude he's cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Yeah.
And that's like you said, Mark. That is a thing. It's like even though my dad's gone, it's kind of like you gotta get like it's like my sister was thinking, yeah, I gotta marry somebody that's going to get my dad's seal of approval. And that dude is like, damn, dude, it's like you've been in our family for years. So shout out to my brother-in-law Chris, and it's the same thing for my little brother sister Sherelle. It's like she been in our family like forever.
Yep.
It just work out like that.
And I know my dad would love my fiance. I know my whole family actually loves him, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that our families are blending in such a beautiful way because it is it's less stressful that way. My mother loves Robert. Robert's mom loves me. I love the fact that our families are blending in such a beautiful way. And it doesn't always happen like that. When you're dealing with these generational curses, you sometimes end up seeing toxic relationships after toxic, and it's like nobody in the family has a successful relationship. It's always some kind of drama or some kind of violence or some kind of addiction that happens to just trickle down to every single person, and then they meet somebody. Like I said before, I have alcoholic aunts and uncles that are still together. My alcoholic aunt is still married to her alcoholic husband. And they've been together for 40 plus years. Mm-hmm. It just happens that way. Sometimes it happens that way. So a lot of the times when you're dealing with those curses, I'm not sure if y'all have heard this phrase before, to stick with the devil, it's like it's so familiar to you that you don't even know how to live with something opposite of what you've grown up in, what you've always seen, and what you've always known.
Right. Mm-hmm. I want to make this one last point. I'm going to sit back and let y'all continue to rock. But, one of the things I want to kind of go back to Stacks saying earlier about how his father was always there to kind of course correct when he wanted to make irrational decisions, if you will. Like for me, I harbored so much like hurt and pain because I love my father dearly, but he wasn't always there. He wasn't always there because he didn't want to be there. It was because of life's decisions that he made that did not allow him to be there. You know, my father was incarcerated in and out for quite some time. Of course, he's home now, but at one point, my father was incarcerated for like 12 years straight, right? And he missed a lot of stuff that he promised me when I was younger that he'll be there. My wedding, my graduation from boot camp, even my retirement, even all the way down to me playing basketball on a different level, and also the birth of my daughter. He wasn't there for those times, and because of that hurt and that pain for him not being there, I was like to a point where I wanted to do everything in my power not to duplicate that in my life. I wanted to do everything I could to not put myself in a situation where my daughter will experience the heartfelt pain that I experienced for those 12 years. I never lashed out at him and saying, "Dad, you were there," and all this other crazy mess. Because by that time I was a man in the military and everything, doing my thing. But at the same time, he wasn't there when I lost my grandmother. That was the world to me. I didn't have my dad to kind of like, put my head on and just cry and just really get it out. I had to literally stand up and be a man during that time. But again, by God's grace, and I think I don't want to get preachy on y'all, but I feel that God still put certain things in our life to mold and shape us. So when Stacks was saying earlier, Stacks was trying to pick on me earlier by Jay-Z verse when he said, I see, I said, jealousy, I said, the part in that verse that stand out to me was nobody built like you design yourself. You know what I mean? And that's how I look at myself. Bars. Period. I designed myself during that time with God's grace, because during that time I didn't have my father to go to give me advice. I didn't have my father to go to and say, "Hey, Dad, my wife is pregnant. My wife is pregnant. What in the world do I do? Like, how do I handle this?" Because my mom is like, "You got it, baby." My mom believed in me, so she like anything I say, she's like, "Yo, you good? you got it." My grandmother was like, "Sean, you the man. You got it." But they didn't know Sean's trying to figure this thing out. So I didn't have my dad to be there and say, "Hey, son, when your mother was pregnant, this is how I went through the same feelings or whatever." I didn't have that. So God had to chisel me into design me the person that he wanted me to be. And I think it helped me out. So my dad's incarceration was also like a maturation process for me as well during that time.
Damn.
So you know what? That brings us to our next point. Are we destined to be products of our environment?
No.
Let's hear from Merv. You know what? And before we go on, I think this is actually a good and a bad thing, as far as being products of your environment, depending on what your environment exactly is.
Yeah.
Merv, what's up? Hey, my guy.
Hey, Merv.
What up?
How you doing?
Good.
You.
What up?
What's on your mind, Merv?
So I want you to speak on this. Are we destined to be products? I want you to explain to me as far as, do you think you are a product of you got a pretty good environment? I mean, whole lot of ass whoopings came in that environment. I know you said since we was like 10, 11 years old, but are you a product of your environment?
Yeah, I'm most definitely a product of my environment. I didn't have a bad environment. On my dad's side, my dad was the first one to graduate high school and go to another level of education. He went to a trade school, became a mechanic. On my mom's side, I got aunts, uncles that's professors in college, and like it seems like on my mom's side, it's a no-brainer. You're going to college. So when I was in like middle school, when I was in elementary school, I knew I was going to college. When I was middle school, I was trying to think about what college I'm going to. When I'm freshman in high school, I'm thinking about what college I'm going to apply to. So as far as like on my mom's side, the environment and the stage was already set. My brother went to college, my sister went to college, all my sisters went to college, and my brother went to college. So college was like just a part of life. It was a no-brainer. When I left high school, I was going to college. Then my family got a lot of business owners. My dad owned a gas station. My mom owned a laundromat. My uncle owned a real estate company. My aunt owned a restaurant.
Mm.
So right now, I mean, I got what you call DeesandAssociates.com, where I have my own stuff where I'm I work for myself for insurance, travel agent, lawn care business, and resume service. So I'm a product of my environment, and then my mom and dad was strict as fuck. So I'm like, as far as like the parent, I'm the disciplinarian. You know what I'm saying? Like my daughter, I spanked her ass when she was 2 years old. So
CPS disregard.
Yeah.
Nah, keep going. Keep going. My bad.
so like you know, my mom was the disciplinarian. As far as like she's the one that did all the beatings. My dad was the one that was like the word lie was like a fucking curse word. You know what I'm saying? He's the one
Absolutely.
that checked me on. I gotta make sure I gotta talk right. You know what I'm saying? Certain shit I could like, you know, all these kids saying like dang.
Yep.
shit, what
Old
the-
dip. Yeah, we couldn't say none of that shit.
Oh,
Right.
That sounds too much like a curse word. I'm getting barked straight in my motherfucking mouth. If I say dang or shoot, it sounds too much like a curse word. I'm trying to be grown. I'm trying to sneak and be grown. I'm trying to sneak and curse.
Yep.
So I'm getting straight slapped to the motherfucking jaw.
Yep.
So yeah, because I like it irks me when I hear a kid say shoot dang. Now it irks me. You know what I'm saying? When I'm a yes ma'am, yes sir, no ma'am, no sir kind of person. If I ask a kid something and like, yeah, my response is, yeah. What you mean, yeah? Oh yes sir. Oh, okay, that's better. So I'm definitely a product of my environment. I man, unfortunately, I don't have no horror stories. I mean, I came from a good environment. The only bad environment I had one bad environment I came from my mom and dad. So they had me while married, but they got divorced. They was divorced by the time I was 9 years old. But them motherfuckers need to be divorced. You know what I'm saying? Like them motherfuckers used to when they get in an argument, all I heard was curse words. Every other word was a curse word. I didn't see my parents go to war with each other. So because of that, I don't curse around my daughter. I don't curse around kids. I'm a whole different person when kids around. I don't argue. I don't argue with my significant other. I don't do the arguing thing. And because I remember how it felt listening to my parents argue and
Talk to
see
them.
my parents fight and hearing them curse. Now, the good thing about the one thing about that, Heathcliff Huxtable and Claire Huxtable showed me what parents supposed to be like as far as husband and wife. So thanks to the fucking Cosby Show, I overcame my mom and dad being an alpha male and alpha female didn't know how to fucking get along, and I followed goddamn Claire and Heathcliff Huxtable, and that's what, like, since I was damn 12, 13 years old, I wanted a professional wife and 5 kids. I wanted a fun
You
family.
tripping?
This is how Claire and Heathcliff and Rudy and Theo and Vanessa. That's what
Right.
the fuck I brought up the kind of family that I wanted. But I won't go back on something I said earlier. One generational curse that's really, 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 really affects. I think it affects the black generation more than anything. And let me tell you why. I used to coach football for Lexington Middle School. I was the defensive coordinator for Lexington Middle School. I coached there 3 years. And you know when you have everybody that plays sports, you have your parents' day, right? Your parents' day to come out to the game, and you walk out on the field with your parents and shit like that. So they even do that in middle school. So we had they had this young black kid. I think he was 7th grade, play running back, and they were talking about Parents' Day, and somebody asked the black kid like, "Your parents coming?" And he got in the subject, and the young black kid said, well, you know, it's different with us. When white kids say parents, they're talking about their mom and dad. When black kids say parents, they're talking about their mom.
Yes.
came from a young black kid in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And I heard this was back in like 2006. It's 2021. And the you're having a missing father is so detrimental and so long lasting, and it affects everybody. So one thing
Yes.
if you have two generations of single mothers, and they became known, they're the last word. They didn't have their fathers in their life, so they don't have. A lot of them will not have know the importance of what it means to have a father in your kid's life, having that father-daughter relationship, having that father-son relationship. Now, both of those relationships are important, but they're also different. So with that daddy-daughter relationship, if you have a
Special.
good father to model after, like Sean said, you're not gonna accept no bullshit from any man. Because you see, either you saw how your dad treated your mom, or you saw how your dad treated you. It's just like when Biggie said, "I'll get my daughter this college grant so she don't need no man." So if you don't feel like you need a man, you're not going to accept bullshit because the example has been set. So that's one factor in that right there. With the son, and I say this a lot. A lot of females get upset when I say what I'm about to say. Only a man can raise a man. That's not saying a single mother cannot have a successful son. But you're not a man. You can't raise a man. So when you have a man that shows a son how to handle certain things, you show your son how to treat a woman. You show him how to overcome adversity when the world knock you down on your ass.
Yep.
All right. When a man been knocked down on his ass, he can show his son, "I've been knocked down on my ass." So this is how you counter that shit. Because men, especially black men, have different difficulties in the world, different challenges that we have to overcome.
Talk to him.
Different from black women. Black women have also challenges, but it's different. So when a young boy is dealing with that challenge, they can't go to the mom. It's the dad, because the dad's been there before. Now the other thing with the missing dad, when you have the ladies that don't see the importance, when they get a guy that has family values, they don't appreciate that guy, or they don't want that guy to be a man, or they're used to being the dominant person because the two previous generations come from a dominant presence of women. So when they come from a dominant presence of women, and then they meet a guy that's willing to be the head of the household, they bump heads because they're so used to seeing their mom and their grandma dominate and be the so-called man of the household. So it's so many different angles and levels when there's a missing father, a missing man, that affects the generational curses in so many aspects. And then another aspect it affects where you have a single mom that comes from 2 generations, 3 generations of just moms. When they have a kid, and with that guy, they don't make sure that kid have a great relationship with their dad because they didn't have a great relationship with their dad, so they don't even know the importance of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a message right there, Merv.
Damn, Merv.
That right there, we need a moment of silence for what you just said, because you just described me years ago.
This motherfucker spitting.
That was me years ago. Because I raised my daughter by myself and had to make every decision for me in her life, that was me years ago, being that dominant person. You can't tell me what to do when it comes to me and my child, because I've been doing it by myself since she's been in the belly. So that's something that I mentioned in a pod previous, that I have to tell myself, chill, relax, let him step in and be a man, because ultimately I can do it by myself, right? But I don't have to do it by myself anymore. And that's actually different for me because I've always had to. So it's a switch. It's not like I've always had someone with Jasmine besides my mom, but I mean like a male figure. And then I have to kind of kick into high gear and do it by myself. It was the opposite. It's always been me. So that dominant that you're talking about was me years ago, where I was like, can't nobody tell me what to do with me and my kid. I've been doing it by myself since forever. Like, and there was no man that I liked that much to even see my child. I've dated men that never even met Jasmine, never met my daughter, for that particular reason, because you're not going to be around that long. First of all, I already can tell. Two, you don't even match to what I think a man is, and that image came from Harold Michael Grant, the man that raised
Talk
me.
to him.
You're not even 1% of that. So get out of here. So that dominant presence that you're talking about, for women who are single moms, we really have to consciously step back and not be that. And it's very hard to do that because we're going to tell you that we know the best thing to do. And I'm so glad that you mentioned about a son. I'm so glad I don't have a son. To be honest with you, I wouldn't know what to do with a little boy.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side, we also got to have, you know, with the dad, with the sons that grew up without the dad, right? You know, like Sean said, we gotta allow ourselves to not have a scapegoat and saying, I don't know how to be a father because I didn't have my father. And we think that's a scapegoat excuse as why to drop the ball on being a father to your son or your daughter. So like Sean said earlier, he said one of the things that motivated him is he didn't want his daughter to experience some of the things that he experienced growing up between him and his dad. So as a man, as a black man, now I can't speak on it from experience because my dad has been in my life the whole time. You know what I'm saying? He showed me how to be a man. Nigga ain't showed me how to be a husband.
Obviously. You was doing good. You was doing real fucking good.
Yeah.
Eat the meat and throw away the bones, Merv.
Yeah, and he was on a roll, Sean. He was on a fucking roll.
It's only a matter of time, man.
Hey, but the niggas, as everybody should feel, I feel I got like one of the best fucking dads you can have in the motherfucking world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My dad, he's not an emotional person, right? But so he doesn't. I never heard my dad say I love you. Now, I'm not saying a man shouldn't. Never heard my dad say I love you. He's not emotional. Never see my dad hug anybody until my daughter was born. My daughter was the first person I see my dad say I love you to, and the first person I saw him hug. So it's something about, I don't know, something about a granddaughter or whatnot, but shit. But yeah, so you can't have that. You can't have an excuse that if you don't have, like, your dad wasn't there. That goes to the accountability part. We also got, as black men, we got to hold ourselves accountable that even if we didn't have it or we didn't have a model, let's try to make the effort to learn. You just got to learn on the fly. And if we didn't have the model, we got to try to set it different and change the generation, because that's part of a generational curse. So we didn't have the model. Let's be the model for our kids, our sons and our daughters. So when they get married and they have kids, they can be like, I learned this from my dad, which is you.
Yep.
And going forward. Because as black men, we got to step up as black fathers. And black men and black women, we got to do so much better to work together and co-parents. If that man,
Right.
if the father don't want you no more, don't take that out with the kid or use the kid as a pawn, and vice versa. We gotta do so much better to co-parent so we can show our kids the importance of the black father, the black mother, and that will start to eliminate the generational curses as far as the parenting and getting along and
Talk to him,
having the
Murder.
model of a black mother, black father, or
Mhm.
black or two black parents, even if you're not married or you're not together.
No. I'll
Yep.
tell you
Tomorrow.
one thing. When I think about generational curses, and this is one thing that affected me, is that I never show any emotion other than when somebody died. That's it. And when I thought about it as I got older, something just wasn't right with it. That just Wait a minute, you don't shed no tears for nothing else. You know what I'm saying? So when my father died, when my little brother Yamin was killed, all those tears of everything else that ever happened came out on those days, and I cried all day. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Yeah.
probably more because I lost the two most important people in my life. But sometimes when you raise like that, like yo, when you out here show no fear, you know what I'm saying, and you can't nobody think you weak, and can't nobody, you know what I'm saying. And what I try to do now when I'm talking to these young men and all the little girls I call my nieces or whatever, like yo, you know, it's all right, you know what I mean, for real, to show emotion, about whatever you're going through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially if you got people there who love you, who care about you, have your back. You know what I'm saying? You don't just have to be like that. Like, and I wish, growing up, was a little different, because I'm like, I didn't really see that from my mom or my dad. Not that they weren't, they didn't have, compassion or empathy or whatever it is. They just was just like, yo, it happened. Like if somebody ain't die, it was just like, all right, well, that shit happened. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be stronger, you gotta be tougher, and you're gonna move on. But sometimes it's just like, man, you should be able to show that emotion. And growing up, I just never did. And into adulthood, I never did. And I'm just like, it shouldn't take somebody passing away, you know what I mean, for you to have those emotions. Like it can be other things, where, tears of joy. It could be other things where like, yo, something might not went your way and you sad about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or whatever. And I try to tell, you know what I mean, for the young people, man, it's all right. Because if you board it all up, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna end up lashing out, you know, unexpectedly, and maybe against somebody you love, because you got all this other shit boarded up in you.
Right.
We gotta break that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Talk
We
to him,
gotta
Mark.
we gotta break that, man. You know what I mean? Like it don't have to be like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I try to tell them, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, yo, and they'll try to, when they talking to me, about something serious, and they trying to hold it back, and I just grab them, man. I'll just like, yo, let it out, man. You know what I'm saying? I get it. You know what I mean? That's something you wanted real bad, and it ain't happened. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, that just might not been meant to happen on this day, what you wanted. But it's gonna be all right. You know what I mean? We're gonna come back better. But I'm like, man, you gotta let that out, man. You can't just keep that bottled up, because I'm like, that's gonna affect the next opportunity and the next opportunity and the next opportunity. You know what I mean? You can't be like that. You know what I'm
And
saying?
you can break that curse, you can
Yeah,
break that by deciding to show that emotion, by deciding to not do what you've seen done
yeah,
all these years.
yeah. So I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what I would say. Just
You,
you
you know,
gotta let
you
it
know,
out sometime, man.
you know what else helps to change up or to break those patterns. Um, what so it could go either way because it could be detrimental to you, depending on which person you are. But if you meet the right significant other, and this male or female, but if you meet the right significant other, where they're used to certain things, it can help their spouse stop the generational curse. Like, for example, let me use an example. So let's say you got somebody, the female's not used to having, they come from a family that everybody get along, or there was a lot of challenges, or maybe that they're not aware of. So they come from a semi-bad environment. So they don't show emotions. They don't see the point of family, parents, etc. But that person, but that woman meet a man, and the man comes from almost like a Cosby Show type family. So the woman goes, the man start going to the family reunions, the cookouts, and see how his uncles are, his aunts are, and stuff like that. So something like that, you could be exposed to, like, yo, this is what it's supposed to be like that I've never seen. So as long as whichever mate is seeing something new, as long as they're willing to be receptive to it, that can also help generational curses. But sometimes generational curses so deep, even if you meet a mate or a significant other, where you see things that could help you stop it, it's so instilled deep in you, it's hard to accept that or be receptive to it. Whereas almost where you might look at that and start criticizing them for how their family is. So it just, generational curse is so many different facets of it. It's hard to break because of that.
Hey, Merv.
Go ahead, Stacks.
But real quick, as far as I want to talk about the being a product of our environment, I most definitely am, and it just so happens that three out of the four that I'm on the panel with now, I mean, I'm a part of their environment as far as me and Rebecca being family, Uncle Harold, Aunt Liz, and Merv parents. Me and Merv have been best friends since middle school, and I still at his house a lot. And I feared his mother. I just want to put that shout out to the late great Susan Mutri. But his father, and the thing is, when you are in an environment where everybody outside of your family is allowed to have influence on you, that village, that makes, to me, holistically a better person. You know what I'm saying? Because I got some jewels, not only from my mom, not only from my dad, not only from my grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and shit like that, but people that are typically in my environment that aren't my family. Like, I was around, Merv's parents so much that, I mean, the discipline, I mean, my family was disciplinarians, but, Merv moms and fathers, they didn't play no, Merv mom and father, they didn't play no fucking games. And to that point, if I fucked up at their house, they beat my ass, and I'm getting an ass whooping when I get back to my folks. My mother, who was the hardest working woman I know, my mother worked 7 days a week when I was growing up, and that's all I knew. I saw my mom go to work every day. I saw my father go to work, 5 days and work. He was a steel worker, working 5 days evening shift, 5 days graveyard, 5 days morning shift, and then he's off for 5 days. But that instilled in me that work ethic that I have. And as far as my values, that's where my other family comes in and instills all that shit. And that builds what your character is, the type of person you are, the type of person you're going to be going forward. And a lot of people fall by the wayside and they don't catch on to shit like that, and they stray, and that makes them different people. But I mean, at the end of the day, you live and you learn. You can't. I mean, everybody's not going to catch on, and be great after all of that.
Yeah.
So then, what do you guys think about? Like, we talk a lot about single mothers, right? We talk a lot about the dad not being there and the mom having to raise the kids by herself. We are starting to see more now that there are, and there's always been, but it's starting to get more attention now, that there are single fathers out there. There are
Mhm.
single fathers that are raising their kids by themselves, that the mom just decided to check out, right? How do you feel? How do you fellas feel in a situation like that where the father is doing his job? He's not what society would deem, and he's actually he's a father and taking care of his kids and all of that. And it's the mom that's like, go to your father. I've done my job. I'm ready to be in these streets, or I just don't want to deal with these kids anymore. Go to your father. And they end up raising their kids by themselves. How do those single fathers now cope? Because who do they go to? Who do they get help from?
I'm gonna say like
It
this.
it depends on.
I seen this firsthand. You know what I mean? My homie, you know what I mean, for real, went through this exact thing you talking about. You know what I'm saying? She was just like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Because it was just they had a bad breakup or whatever, and she was just like, nah, you keep it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have nothing to do with them because her sons look just like him. And I understand they were young at the time, you know, when all that happened, but they, you know, she, you know, whatever she felt, she took it out on the kids. And he was just like, I got to get them out of there because I don't know what's going to happen. Right now, thank God, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, he was able to go to my father early on. Right. And then, you know what I mean, like there's some other, you know what I mean, for, you know, foreheads I knew. And he was able to go, I connected them to them. I was like, look, I don't know nothing about that, but they do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, man, it was crazy though, because it was weird to me because I'm just like, what mom does this? Like, this is the first time I've seen it live. You know what I'm saying? I've heard about it, but
Mm-hmm.
what mom don't have their kids? I'm like, you could be like the worst mom in the world, and the court still might probably side with you on custody of the kids. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Facts.
So
Yeah.
Facts.
I'm just like, you know, that she just was like, yo, I'm doing this. And, you know, she was traveling and doing whatever she was doing or whatever. And she, you know, like, look, this is my life and I want to travel and I want to do this and I want to, hey, I want men to take care of me and blah, 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 blah. And that was her thing. And she just left them kids. Like, that was mind blowing to me. I couldn't even believe what was happening to my mans. But I'm glad that I was able to connect them to some men that were able to help them along the way. And a
That's
lot of good
important.
women, you know, in and around the family, you know, were also able to help. So I'm just like, man, I'm glad that village was there for him. I was able to share some of my village with him. You know what I'm saying? You know, so he got the proper, you know, guidance and everything that he needed. It was just, but it looked so crazy. It just
Yeah.
looks crazy to me when I don't know how you birth, you know what I mean, a kid and be like, I'm good. Like, you know, it's one thing if you're on drugs or something crazy, okay, cool. But that ain't the case. Like, it's just like, no, I'm good. That just looks crazy to me.
But
What
So
were
you
you
know
going to
what?
say, Mern?
Two things. When you first asked the question, I was gonna say, it the if a father takes over the son, you know what I'm saying, he get custody of a son, it's a little different. I don't think they're gonna be as nervous or trying to figure out, yo, how I'm gonna do this when it was a son. But if a single father take over, get custody of their daughter, it's a little different because it's like, mm, if they haven't had their period yet, like, damn, how I'm gonna be able to talk to her once you have that first cycle? I haven't experienced that. I don't know
Yeah.
what that feels like. I don't know how to console on that. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Or she got she comes home and tell you I got a program tomorrow, and you know how kids do, they forget to last second, and her hair isn't done. Oh shit, I'm not doing fucking hair. Like, damn. So if his daughter come with different challenges that might create nervousness, you know, depending on whether you having a son or a daughter. Somebody say you definitely need a village. I still believe it takes a village to raise kids. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
It
saying?
definitely
Like, my daughter-
does.
if my daughter's at my friend's house, like my daughter done been in Stack's house, and I told him, yo, if she act up, discipline her ass. You know what I'm saying? I believe in it takes a village to raise a kid, and we've gotten away from that, where you got parents don't even want their siblings to touch their kids, or it's a motherfucking problem. And it's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
And damn, I was gonna say something else dealing with the father. Oh, to Mark's point, what Mark said, you know, it's weird to see a father with custody unless the mom is on drugs or something. But let me tell you something. More often than not than we see, it's a lot of times that the father is the more responsible parent than the mom, but just because the mom birthed that kid,
Yeah.
the courts
Mm,
and everybody goes with the mom, and it's almost expected. Like, for example, like people just don't expect the dads to like take care of kids. I don't know why, but it's just not expected. Like when my daughter was born, she was 6 months old, and her mom had to go out of town for work for about 5 days. And when we was around, and she used to tell people that, yeah, she's like, I go out of town next week for about 5 days. My daughter Logan was like, probably about 5 months old, something like that. And you'd be amazed. Every person that was told to, the next question was, what you gonna do with your daughter? What you mean?
She gonna stay with her father.
You gonna take it to her mom? You gonna
Right.
take it to her mom's house? To the grandma house? I'm like, fuck you mean she gonna go to the grandma house? I'm not going out of town. It's my daughter, right?
Right.
Yep.
She's gonna be with me. She's gonna be a motherfucking father.
Yeah.
Normalize that shit.
Yeah, it's just crazy that the expectation from the courts and just people in general is like, if you got a kid, they're automatically better off with the mom. It's like only the mom knows how to take care of the kids. A lot of times you let the fathers off the hook, or the good fathers.
Right.
You don't even allow them to be a motherfucking parent or father to
Talk
their
to
kid.
them.
It's fucking crazy, yo.
Yeah.
To me,
It is.
It is. I put it that way. To
Mhm.
me, it is.
No, you ain't the only one. It sound crazy. It look crazy when you see it. I mean, the shit is
So-
ass backwards sometimes. Seriously.
Yeah. You give me full custody of my daughter, I'm lighting up fireworks like fucking New Year's Eve.
Man.
Yo, that's hey, Merv, y'all said a mouthful, man. As far as being a product of your environment, man, the whole village thing, man, I think it's very necessary, and I think we need to get back to that. I'm gonna need all the generation of parents, our generation of parents. We all 40 or pushing 40. I think everybody on the panel is at least. I think everybody 40 on here. And I think it's very vital. I wish that we could get back to the fact where, I can see such and such daughter out in the streets or son out in the streets doing the wrong thing. And I can call their moms or father and be like, hey, look, your son or daughter out here, they fucking up. They doing the wrong thing.
Hey,
And
Stats.
instead of
Hey, Stats. How many times you came to my house when I probably wasn't supposed to have company or we damn doing shit we ain't supposed to do, and within 5, we know we doing something we ain't supposed to do, and within 5 to 10 minutes, my dad walk in the motherfucking house, or he pull up at the motherfucking yard. Because
Absolutely.
goddamn Marg, God bless the dad across the street, Miss Ola, God bless the dad next door, then call my motherfucking dad and be like, yo, I see Merv and some friends doing
he got
something.
company over there, he ain't supposed to have no.
He ain't supposed to have no. Immediately, you pull up at the house, quick like.
Hey, and Merv dad would be like, hey, I know you're up, but hey, Merv dad would be like, hey, I know Merv can't have no goddamn company. I mean, and the thing is, that's what he would say. Merv can't have no goddamn company, and you pretty much bowed out and went home. These kids nowadays, they're challenging adults. They're like questioning adults and shit like that. So I think for all of us to be better as a people in our communities, we need to just get back to that community shit. Because if any of my kids is out there in the streets doing wrong, I would want somebody that I know and trust, somebody that's an adult that just let me know, hey yo, Hyson, your son out here acting a fool.
Yeah.
And I'm not about to ask him no question because I live by the credo, this woman ain't got no reason to lie on you. So what's up? What you been doing? Don't lie because they already tell me what the fuck you was doing. So just let me know what the fuck was going on so we can fix this shit right now. We need to normalize the village because I think we all came from that type of environment where a village like raised us. You might not have had your mama, you might not have had your daddy, but you had people around you that's going to tell you right from wrong, and and when they are snitching on you, they're really trying to put you on the right path, and that's just how I feel.
I'm trying to tell you,
cousin,
it's crazy though, because I'm like, man, I remember, having youngins that, didn't really know how to talk to their mom correctly, right? You know what I'm saying? And just, you know what I mean? You're going to go apologize to your mom, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, look, you ain't going to do that in front of me ever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I like the same way, you know what I mean, when you met my mom, and my mom made you a plate and you're yes ma'am and all that, you're gonna do that right fucking here. You know what I'm saying?
You know
what I'm saying? I was like, no, we're not gonna be disrespectful. I'm like, your mom wasn't disrespectful to you. She let you live here. You don't pay no rent. You know what I'm saying? You don't pay no bills, no. I was like, you not gonna disrespect your mom. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, even if your mom get on your nerves, you still gotta learn how to communicate. Because if you don't know how to communicate out here, you're going to have more of a problem, you know what I mean, than you ever want. And guess what? For people who don't know how to communicate, it's a place for them. It's a, you know what I mean, for real, 10 by 6 foot cell with some bars. That's for all the people who don't know how to communicate. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, man, and I'm like, yo, if you learn how to respect your mom, you know what I mean, you is more chance you're going to stay out of this place. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to end that. That's a curse I'm trying to end right now. I just like, look, no more jail. We ain't doing that no more.
There's a thing in the Black community for some reason. I'll be quick. I'm sorry. We for some reason deemed that expressing ourselves. There's a comment that I hope I'm pronouncing this name right. I want to say it was Razia. I'm going to put this on the screen. I allow my children to express themselves because growing up, I was told to stay in the child's place or just do what you're told. Or sometimes when you try to explain yourself, it was looked at as talking back. And that is something that we really deal with in our community a lot. I have decided to allow my daughter to express herself, whether she's happy, whether she's angry, whether she's frustrated. And she's 10, and I allow her to express herself. The flip side of that is sometimes she just don't know when to be quiet. But we gotta learn to balance on that.
Where'd she get that from, Becca? Where'd she get that from?
I don't even know. That's from my father's side.
Hey, Beck.
My father's side. But sometimes we have to learn that, we have to be able to communicate, just like Mark said, and express ourselves and teach our children that it's okay to express themselves. But that fine line of talking back or disrespect, we have to cut it out, because for some reason, I think our generation, we just don't, because the parents have gotten younger, the grandparents have gotten younger, like your grandparent in your early 30s.
I disagree.
So, okay, give me 1 second and I'll hear your side. So I feel like sometimes we don't take parenting as seriously as our parents or maybe our grandparents did. I think sometimes we just, because times have changed and the world is very different, I think parenting has
Right.
also changed as well. What were you going to say, Marv?
On some real shit, parents haven't gotten younger. So this is my opinion. Parents,
Mhm.
parents haven't gotten younger. Grandparents and parents haven't gotten younger, and that's not the why. That's not the why on what you're talking about, as far as like letting kids express themselves, because your grandma. Okay, I have old parents, so maybe my grandma would probably be your great grandma. So those generations, yo, they was having kids around between 14 and 20. Like so my dad's 83 years old. So my dad is probably y'all grandma or granddad. That's my dad. Them niggas had me at 43. I was an accident. Niggas had me at 43 years old.
Yo, Sean,
Not an
this
accident.
Yeah.
hey, you know what, Mur? Hey, hey, Sean, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
So,
It all makes sense.
Aha.
Yeah.
So, I was raised
Now we
with
know.
almost like the grandparents. I was almost raised like my grandparents was raising me, even though it was my parents. And when when they was having kids, they was like between 14 and 18 years old. My grandma had 10 kids. So it's not really the age, the tolerance. I believe that the tolerance of parents
I can see that.
has increased detrimentally. All right, so I agree. You should allow your kid to express themselves,
That's a
but
good
like you said,
point.
there's a fine line, and it's like nowadays the parents' mindset, our parents' mindset was the way my parents raised me. I became a law-abiding citizen, so I'm gonna raise my kid the same way.
Yeah.
But the current mentality is the way my parents raised me. I didn't like it. I know how I felt when I was 12 years old, and my mom told me that I couldn't go to the mall. So you know what? When I become a parent and my kid's 12 and they want to go to the mall, I know how I felt, so I'm gonna let them go to the mall. And I think that's where a lot of the thin line, the balance, is shifting to where the kids are feeling more brave to be disrespectful, to talk back, and when they express themselves in a non-grateful, disrespectful way because they've been allowed to do more. Because the parents' mentality now is, I don't want my kid to feel the way I felt when I was 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And I think that's where a lot of that gap has separated between the generations and how kids are nowadays. Almost like Steve Harvey said, it's not really a kid's fault; it's the parents' fault. So like the parents have become so fucking nice. Either they fall in the punk ass parent category, or they fall in the I want to be that cool mom and that cool dad where I could rap the same
I want
lyrics
to be
as my
friends.
son.
I want to be
Right.
friends with my
Sing
kids.
the same
Right.
I could sing WAP. I could sing WAP with my daughter, and she think you got the cool mom. And I think
The
that's
worst.
where a lot of that is a reflection on how a lot of the kids are these days. But I do believe you should allow your kids to express themselves, because especially with black people, we hold too much inside, and a lot of times either we go the depression route or the heart attack route. So we should be able to communicate with our kids. So my mom beat the shit out of me, all right? But she did communicate with me. So when I had something going on with my girlfriend then, or something going on the social level, or maybe somebody at school picking on me when I was like elementary school, I communicate with my mom. She had an open communication, but she also had that line like, "Nigga, you lie to me, you getting slapped. I ain't getting no warning."
Yes.
Like these days, your mom or your dad be like, "Hey, you say something else, I'll slap you." Okay, you got one more time, I'm gonna get that belt. Nah, my mom don't do that shit. The minute something that she deemed disrespectful is an immediate slap.
Yeah.
Talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, that was my mom. Yeah.
Hey, Becca, Dorothy Keith flow.
Listen,
Yeah. So,
everybody needs a Dorothy Keith in their life. When I tell you that
Man, talk to him.
I was a little girl traveling from New York to Georgetown, South Carolina. And let me tell you something. First stop was Dot's house. And I remember shaking in my little skirt because Dot did not play. And
At all.
everybody in Georgetown knew not to play with Dorothy Keith. It's like, just do what she says, because if you don't, you're gonna pay for it. And it wasn't until afterwards when you was like, man, Dot was tough because she loved us a lot, and she did not want us to go astray in any way. So she was super, super tough. And Bernadine is somewhat like that too. Bernadine don't play no games either.
Absolutely.
But she was one of those elders that you was afraid of, you loved, and you knew not to mess with her, but you was afraid and you was like, I ain't messing with Dot.
And to Rebecca's point, I need Sean and Mark to know in particular, because Merv know about my grandmother, Rebecca's great aunt. She was the definition of a village. Like if you had a dope boy that went to jail, she was like, "Hey, come." She always sat on the porch, right?
Yes.
And she'd be like, "Hey, come in real quick." And she would say, "I heard you was in jail." And before you had a chance to respond, she would snuff you, like take off on you, and like snuff you in your face. And these are dope boys. These are street motherfuckers, and they just take it.
Scared to die.
That's the essence of the streets right there. Like, that's the essence of a village mentality. Like, yeah, she snuffed me out. But
Everybody
that's just what she do.
Everybody on Emmanuel Street knew Dot. They knew Dot.
Absolutely.
And it was like when Dot passed, it hurt the city. It hurt the entire Georgetown, Pawleys Island, probably all the way up to Myrtle Beach. It hurt everybody because Dot was infamous. Everybody was like, oh my goodness. My father personally loved him some Dot. My father worshipped the ground that Dot walked on because she was the matriarch. She was the one that all the men in the family, as big and strong and tough as they were this big around Dot. They worshipped and loved Dot, like from the rooter to the tutor.
She was the head, like Voltron, and like she the head. If they give you all some context.
Yeah.
I want to make a quick point. I want to kind of go back and address a couple of things. I'll be getting close to the wind up, but I want to first kind of disagree with Merv a little bit. First, I haven't disagreed with Merv in about 3 or 4 weeks now, and I think it's time to disagree with some things. I want to pull something out. And here's my disagreement with Merv in a way. I think that we are overlooking something that is right in front of our face, and we deal with it every day in the workforce as well as in our communities. The reason why things are different now is because we became paralyzed by society's advancement. And what I mean by that is a lot of things we're seeing on social media, kids are being raised by what they're seeing on TV,
Right.
media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, they got access to it. When we were coming up, we didn't have all of that access. If you wanted to get a good story, you read a good book. Now kids can go and see Love and Hip Hop Miami, Atlanta, etc., and they see a generation of people not acting as kings and queens or acting as civil people at times. And that's some kind of way started happening a long time ago. It happened right under our noses because now there's a blend. And I don't want to disrespect anybody who's into whatever lifestyle. So that's what I'm saying here. But now there's a lot of gray area with a lot of things. There's a lot of gray areas with sexuality. There's a lot of gray areas with moral compass. There's a lot of gray areas with everything. And it's not like the parents are turning a blind eye or trying to be too cool of a parent to be able to raise that child and say, well, I know these rap lyrics and I'm going to be cool. Because you think about it, and if any of you raised up in a family or grew up in a household where your parents were listening to music, that music was just as potent as the music we hear today. It was just broadcasted and played a different way. But one of the things that destroyed us right under our nose, I want to use the word destroy, that's a little too harsh. One of the things that impacted us and affected us under our nose was the fact that we allowed the penetration into communities. The communities were broken up for a reason. Neighborhoods were broken up for a reason. There were a lot of neighborhoods that went through gentrification. There's a lot of neighborhoods that actually went through a lot of restructuring to allow some kind of segregation amongst Black people within itself. Because it got to the point where at times, you had Black people saying other Black people were uppity because they grew up in a different type of neighborhood or they moved to a different neighborhood. Like
Hey, Sean.
Mhm.
Sean.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but when you said that, real shit, I told y'all my dad was the first one to on my dad's side of family was the first one to graduate high school and go to another part of education, another school education, become a mechanic. So my dad's from a real country area.
Mm-hmm.
A real country area. It's called Sanford Woodland.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got older, I've heard people say this to my dad from my own ear, and they say it jokingly, but based on how I was treated sometimes and how my dad was treated, I believe it. It was said to my dad. My dad moved from the country area to Georgetown. So where he was from, like all of the family stay on the same road or the same area, maybe a dirt road or whatnot, stay on the same area. And when they grew up, everybody stayed right there. So my dad was one of the few people that left the country area, the dirt road area, went to town, got the gas station, built a nice brick house. And I heard somebody say, they try to say it jokingly, but my dad also said, other people say this, oh, well, you done got your own gas, you got a gas station, you moved away from the country, moved to town, like you better than us, or like you ugly, so you the one, et cetera, et cetera. Like I heard somebody say this from the country where my dad grew up at about him making a negative, derogatory comment to my dad from somebody that stayed there.
Yeah.
And called my dad talking about, well, you act like you was too good, or you felt like you too good to stay here.
And
Right.
Mervin, to your point, I'm glad you said that, simply because we gotta normalize celebrating the come up.
Right.
We gotta normalize. That's a curse. You just described the curse right there, because there was an expectation for your dad to be just like everybody else.
Yep.
Whereas he raised himself up.
Yep.
And got his own business. So that's a curse in itself, where they're really demonizing him for being on the come up. And that's still relevant today.
Right.
Believe it or not, that is absolutely relevant today, because we don't celebrate each other as Black people. We need to celebrate each other's victories. We need to do that. And that's why when I see people making it, man, exactly. Survivor's remorse.
Exactly.
We got to celebrate each other. We got to celebrate those wins, and we gotta regroup when we have those losses. We gotta help each other when we have those losses, and we gotta celebrate those wins. That's crazy that you say that, Murph, because that is really relevant where we live at.
But Stacks, that was even to that point. Like my wife just put up survivor's remorse. We talk about that a lot because where we grew up at, people we hear the word, we hear the rumors, people say things. Oh, they up in Greenville, they got 3 stories, they got this and they got that or whatever. They say it jokingly. It's like someone saying you call somebody saying, "How you doing?" "I'm doing good, man. I'm trying to get like you though." You know.
That's shade. That's shade.
That's shade, right? I'm trying to get like hey, I'm trying to get like you, big dog. Like, you really trying to get like me? Like, they say stuff like that because we got away from celebrating our community and celebrating our success together. Because I feel like I pray to be able to say, you know what, God, bless me enough where I can bless others.
Absolutely.
Allow me to be able to make enough where I can lend and not borrow. You know what I mean? And it comes from a organic place, because I do want to be someone that anyone can come to me and say, yo, I need some help, fam. And I can give that help without second guessing it, without even thinking about it, because I mean, I'm blessed in the situation to give that help. Unfortunately, in our community, where it became segregated amongst each other, was we started following a certain pattern, and that certain pattern was someone of a lesser hue. We started saying, I'm going to go on this side because this is cool to be at, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to forget about that guy down the street that I grew up with. Because I remember when I went into the military, everybody was laughing. My friends were laughing. I'm like, man, you're going to fight a white man's war? They went to work at the plant, right? Because at the plant back then, you could make some money. But they were like, yo, you're going to work, you're going to the military, man? You crazy for doing that. 20 some odd years later, now they still working at the plant. Some of them bouncing from one plant to another, looking harshly. And I'm sitting here like, I was trying to give you a blueprint of what my plan was. It wasn't just about the military. It was about how can we become more independent, more smart? Because now I was able to use the military to get a degree for free. I don't got no student loans or anything like that. And I was able to build.
Hey, Sean.
Yes, sir.
Sean.
Talk to him, Sean.
Yes, sir.
You need to tell them niggas. Hey, you need to tell niggas, I ain't trying to change you, man. Just trying to give you some game to help you
Absolutely.
make the transition from the street to the plane.
That's a really good analogy. I like that. I want to say that. That's awesome. Merv, that's awesome, man. I don't know where you got that from, but I like it.
Man, shoot, I'm
a wise man once said.
Yo, relax on that. We got it.
Yo, I'm telling you, man, that's how it be though, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, you doing your thing, you doing good, you know what I'm saying? And then here comes somebody, they trying to throw shade, but then, you know, when it bounce off you and it don't work, you know what I mean? Like you Superman out this bitch, you know what I'm saying? Then they get mad.
Right.
I'm like, listen, you know, so I'm just like, listen, look, I'm living my life. So I'm gonna say like this, when people, you know what I mean, take shots at you, shots at your family, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't really even know these motherfuckers like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, what? Like, I'm just like, yo, you hate yourself.
Right.
You don't got a problem with me.
But
You
Mark,
hate
that's the
yourself.
point.
Like, real, you don't hate me.
But Mark,
And that's the curse. That's the curse.
That's the
That's
curse.
literally the curse.
Because Stacks, even when, and this is my last point, even through all of that, like I was telling my Wiz a while ago, I said, you know, I had some people that reached out to me, friends of mine, same ones who shunned me for making the decision that I made at 18, right? They reached back and was like, yo, you get me a job at that spot or whatever, because they thought it was easy to get where I was. They didn't realize there were nights, and Merv, Stats, you guys know about recruiting. You know what I mean? Stats, you were a recruiter for the Army. It was days and nights where I was literally beating the streets trying to make mission. You know what I mean? Like, that was the rigorness, the rigors that you had to go through to be successful, but it taught you how to really grind. And then you had someone who never really championed you in the moments when you need someone to champion you. They came back. They only looking at the tangible things at this point, right? So they think that, oh, if you can, I grew up with this guy. If he can do it, I can do it. No, son, you can't walk in. You was out walking. We got you. You're not ready. You're not built for that because you're not ready to grind. You
ain't put in the work.
Right. You got to go back in time to grind like I grinded back then to get to where I'm at right now. Sean back then would not be Sean today, and Sean back then could not go through the shit that Sean had to go through. So you can't tell me that now I can give you a job in this field where you didn't go through the fucking rigors that I had to go through. So again, it goes back to, I'm getting kind of hyped because this shit is real.
Yeah.
Talk to him. Talk to him, man.
We want champion enough. Merv will tell you this, and Merv said this to me. And I want to put your shit out there because Merv and I talk a lot behind the scenes. Merv told me some shit one night, and me and Merv were talking one night a couple of months ago. I think we talking till like 1 in the morning. We started talking around like 9 o'clock, Merv, and I think until like 1 in the morning. And Merv said, man, the reason why I fuck with you is because you always find a way to look out for me some kind of way. Even when I was trying to get Merv to come on board with me somewhere, You know, I wanted Murder to move to Louisiana a few years ago, but he couldn't. He had some other things going on. But it was just something that him and I always connected. Even my Wiz was like, you and Murr got a good relationship. I always said, yo, Murr, I got something for you, man. Oh, Murr, holla at me, man. Like, it was always something that was very natural. It wasn't something that was forced. I wasn't trying to get nothing out of it. It was just simple conversation. And I share that because we don't have enough people to reach back to each other or champion each other and bring each other along. If you make it over, and Murph, even in his return, he said, yo, man, if you can get this thing popping with the pod, go get it popping, come back and get us. He didn't have, his ego could have said, nah, man, you shouldn't take that. You know what I mean? Nah, you shouldn't take that. All of us can't do it. You shouldn't take anything. But he was like, yo, go get us set up, set the table, come back and we'll eat together. That was his words to me. You know what I mean? So that's real shit. We don't have enough, real people to help bring each other along. We rather create tiers because we think we're on the same level as those of a lesser hue. So we want to have a tiering group. We have tier 1 where we're up here and tier 2 where the other ones are down here. It's like the slave house, the slave in the slave house, and the slave in the slave field.
Talk to him.
The field nigga, the nigga on the porch, and the nigga in the house.
Thank you. And we just change it up now because now we get into higher roles in a company, but we don't reach back and mentor a young brother or a young sister to say, let me teach you how I got up here. No, rather to bring along some of a lesser hue to bring them up so you can look good for those who you're reporting to. And now we just screw the whole process up because now we're adding on to the curse as opposed to
because you think you better than me because you made it. You're not all that.
Or
right? That's what they say.
Or they just too busy. Those people too busy hating because you don't act like them. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, so what if I don't act like you? You know what I mean? We got the same mindset. You know what I'm saying?
You know the other thing? You know the other thing? They don't support you because I ain't about to make you rich. I ain't about to help you get
trash too.
Right.
I'm not about to help your business.
But you make Mr. Walmart rich.
That's a crab in a barrel.
You make Mr. Walmart rich though.
Right.
Yeah.
Every day.
That's a crab in a barrel.
Steve Jobs, he still got that iPod, Jay-Z.
Hey, but it's crazy because I've had people that I know call me and ask me insurance questions.
Mm-hmm.
They get a call from me, ask me insurance questions. I never hear from them. But I know they done went to that white insurance agent or the white insurance company and did business with them.
That's wild.
It's crazy.
And pay double. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I go to Geico instead of going to Merv. Even though they're offering the same.
Right, Mark. You right.
Come on, man. You know what I mean? You know a fraud when you see one. That's easy.
Yeah.
Easy work.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Good shit.
This is a good show tonight. This fucking therapy, right? This was some good. This show right here need to be goddamn published and sent out because a lot of motherfuckers gonna listen to this goddamn show tonight.
Absolutely.
It was some gems. Y'all draw some gems on this motherfucker tonight, y'all.
Absolutely, man. Real. Send it to that uppity Negro that's a VP at a company that looked down on his brother working hard in the slums and don't want to give him some. You know what I mean? Don't want to mentor him and show him how to become a VP of a company or exec of a company. Man, don't get me started on that shit. Yo, good night. Good show tonight. Before we close it out, let me go around the horn. Ladies first. Becca, what you got on your mind of your last thoughts?
My last thoughts on generational curses is I encourage everyone on this pod, everyone in the comments, everyone watching and listening, all those under the sound of my voice, to affirm to themselves that they are going to break those generational curses that do not benefit them at all. It is okay to be the black sheep. It is okay to do your own thing. You do not have to do everything that your family members in the past have done. Don't let anything or anyone stop you from what you want to do that is going to benefit you, your soul, your family, and everybody after you.
Indeed. Love it. Merv, what you got, my man? What you got for us? Give us something, man.
Man, for the generational curses in general, far as like black people, like Stack said it, we gotta do a better job of celebrating each other's achievements. We talked about a meme one time where if somebody posts on Facebook, I got a new job, you get a bunch of likes, a lot of likes. Somebody posts, I got a new business that I own that I'm trying to build up. You get a little bit of likes. We gotta do a better job of helping each other and bringing up each other. So, like, if one make it, you need to reach down and bring that person up. Teach them.
Facts.
If they ask you, what do I owe you for helping me come up? You should tell that person, you don't owe me anything except one thing. When you make it or get in a better position, I need you to reach down and bring another brother up. And when I say brother, I mean male, female, black female, bring them up. And when they ask you, what can I do to repay you? You tell them nothing except one thing. When you make it, reach back down and bring somebody else up. That's what we need to help try to eliminate the generational curse of the crabs in a barrel mentality. The other generational curse. I'm not finished. I'm not finished.
My bad. My bad.
Okay,
my bad.
All right. Now,
Shit.
the other generational curse, black mothers, black fathers, let's work together better to be better co-parents, even if you're not together. It's not about you, the dad. It's not about you, the mom. It's about co-parenting, even if y'all not together, to bring up a healthy, mentally, emotionally stable child, son or daughter. So when they become older, they don't deal with the mental insecurities, the emotional insecurities that could follow them. And we need to understand that kids see everything that parents do, and subconsciously, they become what they see. They become what their mom showed them. They become what their dad showed them. They become what they don't see from their mom. They become what they don't see from their dad. So black parents, mothers and fathers, we need to do a better job of, if that man don't want you, if that woman don't want you, don't take out on the kids. Don't punish the kids. Show love to the kids. And don't bash the other parent in front of the kids. You're not hurting the other parent. You're hurting the kids. You're in a relationship between that kid and their father, that kid and their mother, which is going to follow them when they get older and question themselves when they get in relationships or question themselves as individuals.
Well said. Well said. What you got for us, Mark?
Man, I'm a say like this, right? Give back. You know what I'm saying? I think our generation dropped the ball on that. We made it. I ain't saying, I mean, for, every individual in our generation, but as a collective, we made it, and then we ain't giving back. We not doing what we supposed to do to show, that young man, that young woman, this how I got here. This how, I stepped up. We ain't doing that, right? Also, another generational curse, this infighting between, our brothers and our sisters, right? What happened to agree to disagree? Okay, I don't see it the way you do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you got to come at my neck because I don't see it the way you do. No, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? We not doing that no more. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, yo, look, we don't agree. We might not see eye to eye on this thing, but guess what? You still my brother. You still my sister. You know what I'm saying? Just because we don't agree on this, don't mean we can't work together. It don't mean, we can't build together and be more than what we are. We could do that, you know what I'm saying, without and why would you want somebody to be exactly like you and think exactly like you? You're gonna get the
Talk to
same
'em.
answer and you ain't gonna be able to build shit. So stop the infighting, stop the bickering, and stop the, like, oh yeah, everybody gotta be like me. That's who I get along with. Well, you losing if that's the way you thinking. No, we gotta stop that shit. Trust me. I tell my youngest every day, be who you are, be who you want to be. You know what I mean? You can go straight to the top. You know what I'm saying? But that negative thinking, don't come around me. Don't come around my people with that shit, because I'm pulling your card right then and there. Don't play with that, man. Do what you're supposed to do.
Indeed. What you got for us, Stacks?
Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with the late great Jimmy Valvano, coach at North Carolina State. There's 3 things that you should do in life. That you should do every day. You should laugh. You should take time out to just laugh and enjoy life. You should think. Everybody should think every single day, about something. And a third, which a lot of men ain't really with, you should have your emotion move you to tears. I'm one of those dudes, man. And it ain't sad. It ain't, and more often than not, it ain't sad tears. To me, if I see us winning on any level whatsoever, the shit gets so emotional that it moves me to tears. And I say that to say this: these generational curses, they're easily broken as long as we are banding together to win. That is the case. As long as we pull each other up in order to win. Fuck all that negative shit. Fuck all that shit. But we judging each other. It's all about winning.
Absolutely.
And taking it to, and just not just you winning, your fellow man winning. And my parting shot would ultimately be, I will always think this to the day the casket drop. It takes a village. I know we've been seeing it all the whole time we've been on this pod, but I will never ever think otherwise. It takes a village. I need everybody to be open to let that village help you out in molding your seed.
Indeed.
And that's what I got.
I love it. I just want to piggyback off of Stacks. I feel that if you are out there and if you are in a position to be able to help someone that is in need of help, reach back. Don't be afraid to create mentorship. Don't be afraid to mentor people. Don't be afraid to create a community where not only you're giving back, but you're also putting people in a position to be successful and also to win. One of the things that we got to get better at is we got to encourage each other, especially during these times. There's not enough encouragement amongst our people at all. We would rather see each other run a race and allow someone to fall and stumble instead of picking them up and moving them along with you. If you're in a position to be able to get that person up, get them up. If you are a hater, hating is confused admiration. Figure that thing out within yourself. So, one of the things I can say for tonight and for all of us is that, tonight's topic was very heavy. We wanted to talk about generational curses, but if you start really thinking about some of the things that these guys and these ladies dropped tonight, it was more about just figuring out what that generational curse looked like for you internally, not just from a generational piece for your family, but internally. Figure out what that looks like for you. Figure out what you can do to create a new wave of good vibes, a new wave of good energy, new wave of great energy, and just make things happen. Champion each other. Try your best to find in your heart to be a person that really cares about seeing others win, because someone's victory could also be yours as well if you help them get that. So that's my biggest takeaway for tonight. All right. Again, great show tonight. Thank you all for bringing your A game tonight. Everyone got the MVP trophy tonight. Everybody, even Merv got an MVP coming into tonight.
He did. He did.
He came through. He talked his shit.
Merv was spitting.
this is a side of Merv that I don't think a lot of people know exists, but some of us do.
Yeah.
Shout out
Shout as well.
Shout out, Yo, shout out to Tina B. Tina always in behind the scenes.
Come through, Tina B.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Tina B.
Hey, Sean, really quick. I want everybody to know. Tina B had a I ain't trying to put all your business out there, but Tina B had a medical procedure. She wasn't able to be with us tonight, but believe you me, she was out there in the comment. Tina B is kind of like the conductor of this train. She is driving, what we're trying to do as the Guys podcast to bring what we bring to you all, on a consistent basis. And I don't care if anybody think that it's repetitive, but I always want to give her flowers because when she's not here, she is here. And I just want to give that sister her flowers and to let her know we love her and we appreciate everything that you're doing for the pod, everything that you're doing behind the scenes. And we can't wait to get you back on here, so you can talk your shit as we always do. We love you, lady.
Indeed. Shout out to
Hey,
Black.
Tina B, can you post your motherfucking address so that nigga can send you some real flowers so you don't got to
Fuck out of here, bro. Fuck out of here.
Damn.
My goodness.
Yo, Burb's a fucking scumbag, yo.
So,
You back the scum. You was doing good. Now you a scumbag fucking again.
Right. Again, shout out to Blackjet TV, channel 199. Salute to you, Bobby. YouTube, Facebook Live, the Guys Podcast page. Shout out to all of you. Everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. It's been another great week. We had 3 banging episodes back to back. And we're back at it next week. And we got some other shit cooking on the slow burner. So please continue to tune in. We got more
Word.
coming at it. All right. Yeah, whatever that is. I don't know.
Bang, bang.
Peace out.
Bye,
Mad love, y'all. Mad love.
Bye.
You.
You.